Chapter 1. I found myself back at the moment when I was about to sign the divorce papers with Michael. Tossing the pen aside and crossing my legs, I declared firmly, "This marriage, I'm not ending it." Michael shouted at me, his spit flying everywhere. "Lynn, you're going back on your word." Wiping the spit off my face, I replied earnestly, "Honey, you've got something stuck in your teeth, and your breath smells." Michael, looking defeated, pointed a trembling finger at me, struggling to get the words out. Lynn signed the papers, as he tried to force my hand to the signature line. Feeling wronged, I turned to my best friend for help. "Rachel, please help me, he's being rough." Rachel, my dear friend who was secretly hoping I'd sign, changed her expression and stood beside me. "Michael, don't be physical." Then she turned to me, trying to persuade. "Lynn, you two don't have feelings for each other anymore. It's not good to drag this out. You should just sign." Seeing the eager look on her face, like she could hardly contain her excitement, I suppressed my resentment and said calmly, "Rachel, I love him. I'm staying with him for life. I'm not signing." Heading towards the door, Rachel quickly followed. "Lynn, didn't you want a divorce yesterday? What's changed today?" I smiled slightly. "Yesterday I was angry with him. Today we've made up." Rachel's expectations were dashed, and she looked disappointed. Sensing my gaze, she quickly composed herself. "Lynn, with a husband who treats you like this, why not leave and find someone better?" Her tone of concern made me sick. In my previous life, she had used this same caring tone to persuade me to divorce Michael, only for me to receive their wedding invitation within a month. She pretended to care for me just to achieve her own goals, which I despised the most. Suppressing my hatred, I explained, "Rachel, he is the right person for me. As my best friend, you'll support me, right?" Rachel's face darkened, but she maintained her composure. "Yes, of course, I support you." Turning to leave, I was blocked by Michael. "Lynn, as my wife, you failed to give birth to a healthy child. I want a divorce." I looked at him with concern, kindly reminding him, "I had a health check before trying to conceive and I was fine. The baby didn't survive because of you. Maybe you should get checked. I'm saying this for your own good." Michael, fuming, threatened, "Lynn, I'm going to sue you. Don't come crying to me then." I waved dismissively. "Okay." Leaving the civil affairs office, I could hear Michael's impotent rage behind me. As soon as I got home, I received a call from the court. "Ms. Lynn, Mr. Michael has filed for divorce on the grounds of irreconcilable differences. Please appear in court on time." I replied, "All right, I'll be there on time." In court, Michael stood tall, looking confident. "Your Honor, Lynn gave birth to a stillborn. I'm requesting a divorce and the return of the dowry." I looked at him with disdain, my tone mocking. "Are you daydreaming?" Michael slammed the table, his eyes burning with anger. "Lynn, show some respect when you talk to me." Rolling my eyes, I composed myself and addressed the judge. "Your Honor, Michael and I have been in a de facto marriage for a year, and our relationship hasn't broken down. I even had a child. Here is my evidence." I produced several manila envelopes containing prenatal checkup records, hospitalization records, photos symbolizing a happy marriage. The evidence was complete. After reviewing the evidence, the judge stated, "Plaintiff, the defendant has been in a de facto marriage with you. Dowry will not be returned, and the defendant has provided evidence that the marriage has not broken down. Divorce request denied." Chapter 2. Michael was not satisfied and shouted at the judge, "Judge, why? I don't love this woman. I have no feelings for her. Why can't I get a divorce?" The judge frowned, looking stern. "If the plaintiff disagrees with the judgment, you may file an appeal within 15 days of receiving the first instance judgment." After the court session, Michael blocked me at the door. He was smug. "Lynn, I'm telling you, I will keep appealing. I'm determined to get this divorce." I sneered. I, Lynn, would rather be a widow than divorced in this lifetime. Back home, I received a photo from the private detective I had hired using my secret stash. The photo showed Rachel holding a baby. The private detective had sent the printed photo along with related legal texts about falsifying a death certificate to Michael. That evening, Michael returned home looking troubled, his brows furrowed deeply. I knew he had received the letter. I picked a fight with him as an excuse and then went to Rachel's house. Sitting on the sofa, I grabbed Rachel's hand, tears welling in my eyes. "Rachel, I'm scared. I don't dare to go home. Rachel looked curious and feigned concern. Lynn, what are you afraid of? Pretending to be conflicted, I hesitated before finally speaking up under Rachel's urging. I've been married to Michael for a year and a half. One time when he was drunk, I found out that his father was severely allergic to peanuts. Michael added peanut butter to his father's food, causing his death so he could inherit the company. I saw a flash of shock in Rachel's eyes and continued my act. I started to cry, clutching Rachel's hand, trembling with fear in my voice. Rachel, I'm so scared. To think my husband could kill his own father for personal gain. I emphasized the words his own father heavily, making sure Rachel couldn't miss it. With red eyes, I pleaded, Can I stay here tonight? I won't disturb you and the baby. I'm just too scared to stay under the same roof as a murderer. Since Rachel had her baby, she rarely let me near the child, claiming it was for my own good, saying she didn't want me to be reminded of my own lost baby and feel sad. In reality, she was worried I'd recognize the baby as my own. In my past life, Rachel avoided me throughout her pregnancy and only met me after giving birth. At the time, I thought she just didn't want to see anyone during her pregnancy. Now I realize she was preparing to steal my baby. Rachel had orchestrated my marriage to Michael. I had been told before that Rachel and Michael had dated, but I hadn't taken it seriously, naively believing that everyone has a past and we should look forward. Later, they conspired against me. Rachel knew exactly what kind of man I liked, and Michael appeared as my ideal type. Naturally, I was drawn to him. Rachel even created many opportunities for us to be alone. Eventually, I ended up with Michael, and after graduation, we got married and had a child. When I was trying on wedding dresses, Rachel was more excited than I was. I thought she was happy for me, but now I realize it makes my skin crawl. She was thrilled that I was about to become her free surrogate. In my past life, I endured 10 months of pregnancy, 12 hours of excruciating labor, and almost lost my life giving birth, only for Michael to tell me the baby was stillborn. I couldn't accept it and cried my heart out every day, living in constant agony and despair. Every day felt like hell. During that time, Michael often emotionally manipulated me, saying it was my poor health that caused the stillbirth. He said it so often that I believed it. I truly thought it was my fault. I blamed myself entirely for the baby's death, living in guilt and pain every day. Chapter 3. Rachel told me her child was born on the same day as mine. I was genuinely happy for her. At that time, she couldn't produce breast milk. Worried that her baby wouldn't get enough nutrition, even though I was living in my own personal hell, I forced myself to pump milk every day and deliver it to Rachel. My own baby had died, so I hoped Rachel's child would be healthy. Having gone through my own storm, I wanted to hold an umbrella for her. Little did I know that my storm was caused by her. Before I had even finished my postpartum confinement, Michael suggested divorce, saying he wanted to find his own happiness. I refused, but Michael insisted that I couldn't hold him back. Rachel also advised that we should separate if there were no feelings left. In utter despair, I signed the divorce papers. Less than a week later, I received an invitation to Michael and Rachel's wedding. The happiness on their faces in the invitation was overwhelming. The betrayal of my former lover and friend was the final straw that broke me. Unable to bear the torment, I climbed onto the rooftop one dark night and jumped, hoping for instant relief. However, a kind passerby called 911. I lay in the hospital, tubes everywhere, and heard the doctor's regretful words. Such a pity, only 23 years old. In my final days, Michael and Rachel came to see me with their child. I will never forget that moment. Rachel's seemingly pure face uttered the most venomous words. She leaned over my bed, a smug smile on her face. Lynn, do you want to see your child? I was overwhelmed with emotion, struggling to get up, but the tubes held me down, and it felt like my bones were breaking. Desperately, I asked, "What do you mean?" Rachel smiled even more brightly and brought the child closer, her tone light. "Look, this is your child, Lynn. Thank you so much for making me a mother. Rest in peace. I will be her only mother." I was trembling with rage, my muscles convulsing. In my final moments, I struggled to touch my baby's face, but Michael pinched my oxygen tube. His cruel voice echoed in my ear. "Die, you free surrogate." Furious, I wanted to tear Michael's face apart, but my body wouldn't respond. I heard the piercing alarm of the medical equipment and my daughter's cries, and then I lost consciousness. Perhaps out of mercy, heaven gave me a second chance at life. This time, I vowed to make them pay dearly. It took all my effort to suppress my hatred and pretend to be scared. Rachel, please let me stay here for one night. I can even breastfeed the baby. Breastfeeding is good for the child. I even brought a breast pump. Look. As I spoke, I took out the breast pump from my bag. Rachel hesitated, showing signs of wavering. We had been friends from high school through college. Rachel was an orphan and had always longed for the warmth of a family. Her biggest dream was to be a mother, and her child was her greatest weakness. Finally, Rachel nodded. That evening, after she fed the baby, I pulled her aside for a heart-to-heart, just like we used to in college. I advised her, Rachel, now that you're a mother, you have to be very careful. Human traffickers are rampant these days. You must ensure Warmie's safety. Don't worry, the child is my life. I will protect her. I nodded in satisfaction, praising her. Rachel, you'll surely be the best mother in the world. This child must have accumulated great virtue in a past life to be born as your daughter. Rachel beamed with pride at my words. As the night deepened, we fell asleep discussing the baby. The next day, I went to the bathroom, turned on my phone, and checked the surveillance footage. Michael was leaving the house with a large bag. I knew the show was about to begin. Chapter 4. As Rachel and I discussed common tactics used by child traffickers and how to counter them, we heard the beeping of the keypad lock. With a ding, the door swung open and there stood Michael holding a large bag. The fish had taken the bait. It was time to start the show. Feigning shock and alarm, I quickly pulled Rachel back, loudly demanding, Michael, how do you have the code to Rachel's door? Rachel never asked me to stick with you. It's my own decision not to divorce you. Don't take it out on Rachel. Now please leave. I acted as if Michael was a dangerous intruder. Both of them were taken aback. Rachel broke the silence first. Lynn, Michael probably just came to talk to me. I gave him the code to help me get the baby's clothes. Don't be so nervous. Nervous? Of course I was nervous. This was the critical moment of my plan. Keeping my eyes on Michael, I remained vigilant like a cat ready to pounce. What do you need to talk about? Stay right there and talk. Rachel came over to reassure me. Lynn, it's okay. You go out first and I'll talk to him. I looked worried and whispered in Rachel's ear as I left. If anything happens, just call out loudly. I'll hear you. As I walked out, I glanced at the vase on the table. It was made of glass and could easily injure someone if things got violent. I had chosen it as a gift for Rachel, congratulating her on becoming a mother. Hesitating, I left the room, giving Michael a warning look as I went. I intentionally made my footsteps heavy as I walked towards the stairwell, then silently doubled back and pressed my ear to the door. I heard Michael's voice. Rachel, give me the baby. Someone found out about the fake death certificate for this child. What do you plan to do with her? Rachel sounded agitated. Michael's voice was urgent. Rachel, we can trick another woman into having a baby. We don't need this one. If anyone finds out about this child, my forgery of the death certificate will be exposed, and I'll go to prison. Rachel's voice grew louder as they argued. You want to kill her? No way. I've raised her for a month. She smiles at me every day and reaches out for me to hold her. I'm her mother, and I'll protect her from harm. If you dare touch her, I'll never forgive you. I heard the sound of a struggle, their footsteps chaotic as they fought over something. Help me, Lynn. Rachel's piercing cry for help interrupted my eavesdropping. I responded loudly. Rachel, the code. It's Warmie's birthday. Warmie was the baby's nickname. I quickly punched in the code, and as the door opened, I saw Michael holding the baby. I shut the door and blocked Michael's path. My face was a mask of shock, my voice full of disbelief. Michael, why are you taking Rachel's baby? If you want a child, we can have another. I'm telling you, kidnapping is a crime. Do you want to spend the rest of your life in prison? My words were a threat on the surface, but in reality, I was reminding him that the baby was evidence of his crime. I kept a wary eye on Michael, constantly aware of the baby's safety. As Michael hesitated, I launched myself at him, kicking his leg and pinching his waist, trying to take the baby, but he wouldn't let go. Rachel then jumped into the fray, attacking Michael more viciously. She kicked him in the groin and then bit him like a wild animal. I quickly took the baby, fearing she might get hurt in the struggle. Rachel turned to me, blood still on her mouth from Michael. She was frantic. "Lynn, take the baby and run." Chapter 5. "Okay. Be careful," I shouted as I swiftly ran away with the baby. I moved quietly towards the rooftop. In the stairwell, I intentionally missed a step, holding the baby tightly. My foot twisted and my head hit the wall, drawing blood. I ruffled my hair and clothes to make myself look disheveled and beaten. Then I made my footsteps deliberately loud as I descended the stairs. Timing it perfectly, 3 minutes later, I limped, half-crawled and half-ran back up, my eyes wide with terror, shouting, "Get away! Get away!" I entered the code and burst into the room where Rachel and Michael were still grappling. Tears streaming down my face, I cried out, "Rachel, I couldn't get out. The hallway is full of Michael's men. I barely managed to lock them out. What do we do now?" Michael cursed. "Lynn, what nonsense are you spouting? I came alone." With blood trickling down my forehead, I wailed even louder. "Rachel, they were trying to kill me. I hurt my leg. If I hadn't been quick, they would have taken the baby." Rachel looked at Michael with a murderous glint in her eyes, like a mother protecting her cub. "Lynn, go to the rooftop. I'll hold him off. Don't call the police." Bearing the pain in my leg, I dashed to the rooftop and immediately locked the door behind me. I lay on the ground, ear pressed to the floor, listening. Inside, I could hear sounds of things being thrown around, indicating a fierce struggle. About 10 minutes passed, with the argument growing more intense. Suddenly, the sound of shattering glass rang out, followed by silence. I knew my plan was about to come to fruition. I quickly dialed 911, reporting that someone was trying to kidnap a child here. The room remained silent for a full 5 minutes. My heart pounded as I held the baby tightly. Then a knock came on the door and I heard Rachel's voice. "Lynn, open the door. Michael is gone." I wasn't going to open it. Rachel might have dealt with Michael, but I could be her next target. Thinking quickly, I yelled, "Bullshit, Michael, you haven't left. I can see you from the rooftop. Don't try to fool me. I'm telling you, Michael, this is a society governed by law. If you coerce Rachel, you'll pay for it." Rachel's voice sounded impatient. "Lynn, it's just me. Open the door and let me see the baby." Ignoring her, I shouted, "Michael, get lost. I'm warning you, don't hurt Rachel." I refused to fall for it, and Rachel kept banging on the door. "Open up, Lynn. It's really just me." I silently laughed to myself, replying in a deep voice, "Really? I don't believe you." The door was kicked hard, and I heard someone running down the stairs. A minute later, there were loud thuds as something heavy hit the door. I called 911 again, my voice trembling with tears. "Please, police, come quickly. Someone is trying to take the baby." The banging was so loud that it made Warmy cry. I comforted her while bracing the door with my body. I didn't know how long I could hold out, but finally, I heard the reassuring sound of police sirens. The banging stopped, and I heard the sound of hurried footsteps fleeing. Soon after, a police officer's voice came from the other side of the door. "It's okay now. You can open the door." Remaining cautious, I asked for the officer's badge number and police station name. After verifying, I carefully opened the door. The first thing I did was hand the baby to the police officer. Only then did I feel at ease. The officer in charge looked serious. "Where is your husband now?" Rachel gave me a meaningful look, but I pretended not to see it. I truthfully pointed. "In Rachel's room." Chapter 6. The officer looked at Rachel, signaling her to open the door, but she refused. The officer spoke sternly. "Ms. Rachel, please open the door and cooperate with our investigation." Rachel stood in front of the keypad, blocking the entrance with her body. "This is my private residence. You can't enter without a warrant. You can't force the door open without one." The officer sighed and pulled out a search warrant. "We are conducting a lawful investigation." He then pulled Rachel aside. "What's the code?" "Ha, I'm not telling you. Let's see how long it takes you to open it." Rachel turned away, refusing to cooperate. Since she wouldn't cooperate, I stepped forward, being the law-abiding citizen that I was, and quickly entered the code. With a ding, the door opened. Rachel cursed at me from behind, but I ignored her as if she were just background noise. Opening the door, we were hit with the stench of blood. Everyone present wrinkled their noses in unison. I glanced back to observe Rachel's reaction. Her once beautiful face was now devoid of color, her lips pale. I smirked inwardly. So you can have a bad day too, huh? Rachel and I were kept outside as the officers searched the room. 2 minutes later, they found Michael's body in the closet. His head was covered in broken glass shards, and the closet was drenched in blood. Judging by the fragments, it was clear that the weapon was the glass vase I had given Rachel as a congratulatory gift for becoming a mother. The very vase I had seen on the table before I left had ended Michael's life. How fitting! I unleashed my acting prowess, breaking free from any restraints to kneel beside the body, trembling as I wailed, "My husband! You died so horribly!" Ah! The officers rushed to calm me down. I stopped crying, glaring at Rachel. "Rachel, I trusted you as a friend, but you killed my husband. I'll sue you. I'll make you pay for his life." Rachel seemed frightened, hastily defending herself. I didn't kill him. I warn you, accusing me without evidence is slander." The officer intervened. "Enough, no more arguing. Everyone will come to the station to clarify the situation." So Rachel, Michael's body, and I were taken to the station, while Wormy, being too young to be left alone, was sent to the hospital for temporary care by the officers. At the station, I was brought into a small interrogation room. "What's this about your husband trying to kidnap a child?" I answered truthfully. "I gave birth to a stillborn last month. My friend Rachel also had a baby on the same day. My husband loves children, so he often visited Rachel and bought clothes for her baby. But I never expected he would try to take Rachel's baby." The officer continued. "Where were you when your husband died?" I replied. "I was on the rooftop. When my husband tried to take the baby, Rachel gave her to me and told me to wait on the rooftop while she talked to him. I went to the rooftop with the baby. I first heard them arguing, then the sound of breaking glass, and then everything went silent. I was terrified and called the police. I omitted the part where I had returned to tell Rachel that the hallway was full of Michael's men. Michael's death was Rachel's responsibility alone. My actions were only to push Rachel into a corner." The officer asked, "Why didn't you call the police immediately when you reached the rooftop?" Chapter 7. I answered truthfully. "When I took the baby to the rooftop, Rachel told me not to call the police. After all, it was my husband's fault. If I called the police, he would have a criminal record, which might affect our child's future prospects. So I didn't call initially. But after hearing that loud crash, I was afraid things were spiraling out of control, so I had no choice but to call." The officer's eyes were sharp as he continued, "What about the wound on your head and your injured foot?" I looked sincere. "I was in a hurry to get to the rooftop with the baby. I tripped on the stairs, hit my head against the wall, and twisted my ankle." The officer pressed on. "According to you, your husband and Rachel had a struggle. Were you present at the time?" I was. "Rachel and I were trying to get the baby from Michael. I kicked his right leg and pinched his right side, but he wouldn't let go. Rachel bit him, and that's when he finally released the baby. At that time, my husband was still alive. When I returned after calling the police, he was already dead. During that time, only Rachel was with him, so she must have killed him. Officer, you must bring the murderer to justice." "All right, I understand." Shortly after, the officer handed me the written statement. After signing and fingerprinting it, I was allowed to go home. The first thing I did at home was rummage through everything to find that threatening letter. I finally found it in Michael's safe. I took out the letter and burned it with a lighter, watching it turn to ashes bit by bit. I flushed the ashes down the toilet. After dealing with the letter, I collapsed onto the sofa. Now it was just a matter of waiting for the trial. Half a month later, the trial finally began. In the courtroom, Rachel looked at me pleadingly, but I pretended not to see. After all, in my past life, when I wanted to touch my baby's little face before I died, she also pretended not to see. Rachel's voice was full of desperation. "Lynn, you saw it. Michael fell and hit his head on the vase by himself. It was an accident. It had nothing to do with me. You have to testify for me." Oh, she wanted me to help her escape justice? Dream on. I glared at her and loudly accused, "Your Honor, she killed my husband, and now she wants me to perjure myself for her." Rachel, panicking now, her voice trembling. "Lynn, tell the truth. Michael's death was an accident." He hit his head on the vase himself. I feigned anger. Give it a rest. The forensic report is out. The cause of death was head trauma from the vase. And your fingerprints were found on the vase. Rachel's face turned ashen, her lips bloodless, yet her words were still arrogant. He was suicidal. How dare you accuse me of murder without evidence? I'll sue you for slander. Even at the brink of conviction, she was still so defiant. I looked towards the officers, who produced a manila envelope containing the forensic report. The evidence was irrefutable. Rachel had murdered Michael. As the judge was about to announce the verdict, Rachel suddenly ran over to me. She fell to her knees, clutching at my pants, and pleaded, "Lynn, I was wrong. I shouldn't have killed your husband. Can you please take care of my child?" Rachel, despite being a beast, truly loved her child. But no matter what, she should never have taken mine. I continued my act, feigning anger as I rebuked. "Rachel, why would you think I, Lynn, would help raise the child of the person who killed my husband? Yes, I don't have a child now, but it's not because I can't have one. I'm fully capable of having children. Why would I want to raise the child of a murderer?" Chapter 8. Seeing that she couldn't persuade me, Rachel played the emotional card. "Lynn, you know I lost my parents when I was young. I'm an orphan. Now that I have a child, she's my only hope and joy. You're my best friend. I can only trust you with Warmy." I remained silent and Rachel continued to sweeten the deal. "If you're willing to raise her, I'll give you all my assets. Just promise to bring her to see me once a year." Rolling my eyes, I replied with a mocking tone, "I won't raise her. I'll only raise my own child. As for yours, she can go to an orphanage. She'll never remember you or know her mother is a murderer. And as for your assets, I don't need them." My words stung Rachel. Her pupils contracted sharply, and tears streamed down her cheeks. I turned to leave, but Rachel grabbed my foot. "Lynn, she's your child. You have to raise her." Shocked, I yanked Rachel's collar and demanded, "What? My child died the day she was born. How could she be mine?" Rachel looked at me with a determined glint in her eyes and took a deep breath. "Your Honor, I wish to confess." The police escorted Rachel back to the defendant's stand, and I returned to the plaintiff's seat. I had waited so long for this day to come. Rachel seemed much calmer in the defendant's box. "Your Honor, regarding the child Warmy, she is not biologically related to me. Her biological mother is Lynn." The judge signaled Rachel to continue and she sighed. "When I was in college, I dated Michael for a year, and we planned to marry after graduation. However, during our premarital checkup, I discovered I was infertile. I always wanted a child, so Michael and I devised a plan. He would pursue and marry Lynn. Once Lynn gave birth, we would fake the child's death certificate and take the child to raise as our own, planning to divorce Lynn later. After the divorce, Michael and I would marry and live as a family of 3. Rachel's plan was indeed cunning, ensuring she got both love and a child without any pain. Although I had figured out their scheme before my death in my previous life, hearing Rachel confess it in court was still hard to stomach. Remembering Rachel's smug face as she held the baby in front of me in my past life made my blood boil. Fueled by rage, I leaped to the defendant's stand and slapped Rachel with all my strength. I hit her so hard that she fell to the ground. When she got up, her left cheek was visibly swollen, with 5 clear finger marks, and blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. Seeing her in such a state brought me immense satisfaction. The officers calmed me down, and I returned to the plaintiff's seat. Clenching my teeth, I asked the question that had been burning inside me. "What did I ever do to you? Why did you do this to me?" Rachel replied calmly, "Lynn, you know I've always wanted a child, but fate played a cruel joke and I couldn't have one. I had no choice but to find someone else to bear a child for me. In our senior year, I started looking for a suitable candidate and found you to be the perfect choice. You're simple-minded, trust me completely, and are healthy. You were the best candidate." Her calmness contrasted sharply with my agitation. I roared, "Just because I'm simple-minded, I deserve to be deceived? Just because I'm simple-minded, I should be your free surrogate? Just because I'm simple-minded, you think it's right to trick me?" The courtroom fell silent as my words echoed, highlighting the gravity of Rachel's betrayal and the depth of my pain. Chapter 9. Tears dripped onto my hands, bringing me back to reality. I was already crying. I wiped my tears away, trying to gather my composure, and remained silent for 10 minutes. Seeing my emotions settle, Rachel pleaded again. Lynn, she's your child. Will you raise her? You can hit me as many times as you want if you do. She began slapping herself. I spoke in a low, firm voice. I will do a DNA test. If she is my child, I will raise her. But let me make this clear. In this life or the next, you will never get to see this child. You do not deserve to be a mother. I repeated loudly. You do not deserve. Rachel's face was a picture of pain, covered in tears and slap marks. She looked pitiful, but I felt she deserved every bit of it. I had sincerely treated her as a friend, but to her, I was just a tool to achieve her goals. 5 minutes later, the judge announced the verdict. The court concluded, and Rachel was sentenced to prison for manslaughter and child abduction. She would spend the rest of her life behind bars. I took the police certificate to the hospital to pick up Warmy. I also took some of her hair for a DNA test. Even though I knew Warmy was my child, waiting for the results made my heart race and filled me with anxiety. A day later, I finally received the results. They confirmed that Warmy was indeed my daughter. I took the DNA test results and registered her as my legal child. From that moment, Warmy was officially mine, both legally and biologically. I hired a nanny to care for Warmy, and with some free time, I went to the coroner to claim Michael's body. I found an old man who collected scrap and had him transport the body to the crematorium on his tricycle. 3 hours later, Michael had been reduced to a pile of ashes. The staff asked if I wanted a proper urn for the remains. I handed them a smelly litter box, surprising the staff member. Ma'am, are you sure you want to use this? I nodded. Yes, his ashes belong in this. If it weren't for my pet needing a new litter box, I wouldn't have wasted it on him. This thing cost me $100. 10 minutes later, I collected the ashes and drove home, filled with joy. My scumbag husband was dead, and since he had no living relatives, all his assets were mine. Rachel was in jail, and no one could take my child away from me. I played a song called Tears Behind Bars to celebrate Rachel having taken care of Michael for me. Once home, I called my pet over to use the litter box. The sound of urine hitting the ashes clumped them together. Sitting beside the litter box, I muttered, Michael, isn't it delightful to die at the hands of the woman you loved the most? In my previous life, I was tormented by these two. In this life, I was determined to drag them into hell with me. I had crafted a plan based on my deep understanding of both of them. Michael had an unfortunate childhood, growing up under his father's abusive fists. In college, he met Rachel, a fellow sufferer, and they found solace in each other. Michael's diary revealed his true love for Rachel. That's when I decided that only Rachel could kill Michael. Being killed by the one he loved most was the death I chose for him. As for Rachel, her lifelong dream was to be a mother. So, I made sure she would have to give up her parental rights and never see her child again. She would live a life of solitude without anyone by her side. A few months later, Warmy turned 1. I visited Rachel in prison. Seeing me, Rachel was visibly excited, clutching the phone. Lynn, is Warmy here to see me on her birthday? I smiled brightly. No, I'm here to tell you that Warmy has started calling me Mom. I hold her at night and she cuddles up to me calling me Mom. And it makes me so happy. I wanted to share that with you. Feigning regret, I added, it's such a pity you'll never get to experience this happiness. Rachel's voice rose in anger. Lynn, you bastard. I chuckled. Who's the real bastard here? Rachel, I'm taking Warmy and leaving this city. I came to tell you this so you can give up any hope. Ignoring Rachel's screams, I left without looking back. I went to the police station to change Warmy's name to Lynn Warm. I sold our old house and with all my assets moved to City A. There, I bought a new home and decorated it to my liking. 3 years later, Warmy started kindergarten, and I found success in my career. In this new place, Warmy and I began a new life.